So you're considering getting your kids a phone, but you're overwhelmed by the amount of decisions that are involved in that process, like when do you give them, which phone do you give them, how do you go about doing this, not to mention all the options out there on the market. Well, today I want to share with you guys what our family decided to do and a few questions that you can consider to help you make that very individualized personal decision that might be best for you and your family. We have been using the Techless Wisephone now for a couple of years and have found it to be a great fit for our family. And I'm excited to share why. So let's get started. When it comes to when you should get your kids a phone, there are several factors that are involved in that. But I think one is ultimately, is your child ready emotionally, right? Are they trustworthy? Are they responsible? Yes, all kids make mistakes, but is this something where you've consistently seen the character and the ability to handle such a big responsibility? You also can consider factors like how many independent activities do they have or have a need for a phone? Are they with you 24/7 or in the home? They probably don't need a phone. However, if they are being left home alone, maybe they're a little bit older and you're leaving them home alone, maybe they have activities, you're dropping them off at youth group or co-op classes, maybe they have extra work that they're doing, working on yards, babysitting, or maybe working an actual part-time job. All of these things are maybe considerations for a phone, especially because kids don't have access to things like landlines or a lot of public phones these days. I don't want my kids to have to be dependent on the other people that are around to be able to get a hold of me. There's just a lot of ways that can go wrong. You also can consider how often do they need access to a phone? Do they need access 24/7? Probably not, but there is more than this all or nothing mentality. We've actually had great success with having a family phone. It's something I grew up doing and then my kids do as well. This is one phone that's not designated to one specific child, but rather it's designated to all three of my teens who have more independent activities. They don't need access right now in the stage that they're in all the time. They are not constantly going in all different directions. They tend to kind of either leave the house one at a time or go all as a group. And so having one family phone has worked great for us. It gives accountability as they share the phone. And it's actually really simple. When they call somebody or they text somebody, they just say who it is and then whatever they wanted to say. So it's been a great option as an in-between, having these extremes of all access or none. Other things to consider is what's important to your family. What helps your family with their goals? I actually wanted my kids to have access to more than just a phone and text messaging. We had a phone that did just that, and we really kind of found that it was more frustrating than helpful. I do like the fact that with smartphones, there are more technology and more helpful things that can help us accomplish our day-to-day tasks. But I didn't want the completely unlocked phone that had access to everything and open internet. So we decided on the Techless Wisephone. This has been a great in-between here and marrying those two things, being able to have helpful technology for my children while still protecting them and giving them good boundaries around this really important responsibility. I love the fact that Wisephone allows us to use our own service provider. You can use Wisephone as your provider if you don't have one, but having the ability to pick and choose is great too. If you already have an existing family plan, you can add your kids on. They work with most service providers. You can see more information down in the description below as to which ones they work with, but we actually added them to a program called Tello. This service provider gives great service, very affordable prices, and is exactly what our kids needed in that moment. So I think that this is a great option. Then they also offer multiple options when it comes to what your child has access to on the phone itself. You can go with just the standard options that come on every Wisephone. This is things like having access to a camera, phone calls, text messages, having access to music. So if you want to put audiobooks or music onto their device, you can do that and they can have access to that, which I love as a homeschooling mom. It has the ability for you to have a calculator and a notes app. So all of those basic things that you will need, very, very clean, very, very simple, is what comes with the standard phone. Or you can choose to get their upgraded option, which is a subscription where you get access to what's called their Toolbox. This is additional apps that you can have on your child's phone, but it is not the entire app store. I love the fact that they decide which third-party apps can be utilized on the phone based on a very specific criteria of 10 different things. You can see more about what those 10 criteria are, but essentially they pick those apps that are helpful to your family, that are not going to encourage them to stay on the phone longer than they need to be, and that help to make your life better. No endless scrolling, no mindless, mind-numbing activities, but you do get those important things like being able to access those maps, being able to have your banking app on your phone, being able to have your boarding pass when you fly on a plane, or being able to have important things like Audible, or even the app Band that a lot of my kids' teachers or groups, co-ops use to communicate with other people in that group. So I love the fact that it has those options for those helpful tools, but it doesn't have everything out there. This phone was actually specifically designed for adults who wanted to be intentional about their tech time, not only protecting themselves, but also making sure that they weren't wasting their moments and they were being fully present. I love this fact because it can grow with my kids. I can keep it real simple while they're young, and then as they get older, I can add that Toolbox feature that gives them things like the ability to have PayPal or Cash App or things like that that are important and helpful in our day-to-day life. Wisephone is really great when it comes to keeping the phone as uninteresting as possible. Now that might sound like an odd statement to make, but what I mean by that is they're very intentional by the fact that their homepage, whether or not you have the Toolbox or not, is very simple. There's no colorful icons. There's not a tons of notifications on there. You have access to what you need, but you go there when you need it instead of going there just to check all of the things. I really like this feature, and I found it really, really helpful for my kids so that they're not constantly sitting on their phones. There's no games to play on there, and there's not that ability to get sucked in. When it comes to those boundaries for your kids, I think it's just really important to have open dialogue and conversation, to have that mutual trust there. We don't feel like we have to constantly check our kids' phones. However, they know that we do have access to it. And again, with it being a family phone, they know that their siblings are going to be checking text messages because they're not sure if it's for them or for their sibling. So I like the fact that we can have those open dialogue and conversation about those things, that this is not something that we hide off to the side. It's something that is charged in mom and dad's room at night, along with all of our devices in our home, because nobody really needs it after bed, but it gives me that peace of mind of knowing that they have access to be able to get a hold of me. If you want to learn more about Wisephone and what they have to offer, check out the link down in the description below, as well as a special coupon code for you that'll give you a special discount on their phones. And if you want to learn more about another resource that we love for teaching about online safety, check out this video here.